Welcome to Sacred Stories Podcast, a place to explore and discuss new and exciting books of consciousness. I am your host, Reverend Patricia Caginello, and speaking with authors that have shared their wisdom, stories, and a higher consciousness through their books is one of my favorite things to do. Today we are speaking with Denise Alexander Pyle, a contributing author to our new book of inspiring stories, Chaos to Clarity, Sacred Stories of Transformational Change. Denise is an attorney and expert in family law for more than 43 years. She received her law degree from Michigan State University School of Law, and she is the author of the book, The Power of 10, A Guide to Living the 10 Commandments in Modern Times. So welcome, Denise Alexander Pyle, to Sacred Stories.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, thank you for being a contributing author to our book, Chaos to Clarity. It's just a joy to have you and your story, Third Time Charm, included in our book.
Thank you. It's funny. I was thinking the same word joy as you were speaking, that it was a joy to be part of it.
Yeah, it's really such a beautiful book. We have 30 authors that have shared their stories of transformational change, and yours, there's many of them that are heartbreaking, to be quite honest, and yours is one of the heart-opening stories in the book, which I'm just so pleased about.
I've been very blessed, but my whole life changed when I was 41 and went to Washington D.C. to change my professional career, and everything else changed along with it.
Yeah, it's such a great story. So share with our audience the sacred story that you wrote for Chaos to Clarity.
Well, I had reached a point in my life. I had practiced law for 15 years. I did some politics. I had gotten divorced, but I always had a dream to go to Washington, D.C. and, change the world from the inside out through the system. And I, with big fanfare, went to Washington. I had planned how my life was going to be. I was going to be this big the pro-mess because I like to cook. So I was going to entertain and change the world. And I went there and I had a nice political appointment for a very short period of time. And I was, beyond that, I thought, this was my life going forward. I left the friends and the city I left behind for major change, only to end up back where I started from in Michigan, but with a new life, with a new perspective, and a new man that I would never have thought would be my partner and soulmate in life.
So you were twice divorced when you went to D.C., is that true?
Correct. Both times to lawyers, and I being a lawyer, so I was through with lawyers, that was for sure. Although going into Washington was not necessarily the best place to get away from the law.
So you basically left your home, went to Washington, twice divorced, started a new life, lots of fanfare, and speak a little bit more about what happened, though. So you had said you had an appointment, a short appointment.
I was the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Community Planning and Development at HUD. Basically, all the community development block grant money came through me. And I had been a councilwoman in a city, so I had the familiarity with the programs. And I had hoped if the election was favorable to the president that I was serving, then I would go work for the Department of Health and Human Services, getting into more the women's and children's issues, which were more to my heart. But the election did not go the way of the party I was representing, and I wound up in Washington 6 months later without a job, in a city where I did not have political connections, where everybody was somebody like me. So I was now a small fish in a big pond, and I was not of the party of favor. So finding a job was not going to be very easy, and I didn't want to go back home with my tail between my legs to go back to practice law the way I had. So I was going to make it work.
So when you were in Washington, did you expect to have your third time charm meet your future love interest?
No, particularly not back in Detroit either. But no, I was not looking for a relationship. And when I found myself without a job, one of the things I did do, I had never not worked my entire life. I had gone from undergrad to law school to, to work from the time I was 11 anyway, babysitting and then selling jobs. So I had never had a break. So now, okay, what do I do? So it took me a while to get myself established. I started doing consulting work eventually for state, local, and nonprofit organizations, helping them access federal funds. But prior to that, I started reading. All of a sudden, I had time to read every metaphysical book I ever wanted to read. And I read 100 books in probably 6 months. I lived in the metaphysical bookstores in both Georgetown and Alexandria, Virginia. And I masterminded. I met some women who were like-minded. We'd come to my house. We'd put out our dreams and aspirations and supported one another. Again, trying to control the life we wanted to bring into ourselves instead of, letting the universe do it for us. That lesson I hadn't learned yet. But I was seeking myself. I really found out that, I was tied into my, my career, my titles, I was an elected official. I was this, I was that, I was an appointment. But who was Denise Alexander, which was my name at the time? And, so I was searching for my own holy grail. I was going inside to find out, who am I? And I had the luxury to do it.
So not to give away your whole story, but you did find what you call your third time charm. And your husband, he's not a Washington power broker or an attorney. So just how would you describe your current husband? What's his name? Anyway.
His name is Stephen Pyle, and he is Socrates from the Way of the Peaceful Warrior. He is a person who probably, other than the Bible, hasn't read, in my book, he hasn't read many metaphysical books, but he lives it. As he'll tell you, he spends his life, fishing and contemplating. He's a deep thinker. What you see is what he gets. He walks the walk. He is the most grounded, integrous person I've ever met. And he's a farm boy who worked for General Motors as an engineer, mid-level management. And I met him in a country western bar.
I know. So that's what's and the way you weave your story in the book, and you talk about how you met him at, a country western bar and through the dancing. And I think you describe him as a genteel country bumpkin, versus in the most favorable way, in the most honoring of ways, but different than the type of person you thought you were going to find.
But yet he's the person, if you were going to be stranded in an island, he can take care of you because there isn't anything he can't do. And I mean, he can hunt, he can fish, he has military training, he can do everything. But yet he's got the heart. He's all heart.
So what's really interesting, just to stick with your story just for a moment, because you had said you had read over 100 metaphysical books, you were kind of rediscovering who Denise Alexander was at the time, right, in your 40s. And you went to a weekend retreat and you received a really very specific
message on a cake.
Message on a cake. So that's all I was going to say. No, let's not even say it. Let's just say when you read the book, there's a message on a cake for Denise that kind of let her know, to maybe dive a little deeper with her wonderful farm boy, Stephen Pyle. And how long have you and Stephen been married now?
October 26th, it'll be 26 years.
Wow. Congratulations. So Denise, when you were writing Third Time Charm for Chaos to Clarity, what did you find, kind of the most exciting or even challenging? Was there a challenging part to write your story for us?
Remembering the detail. But it flowed. I relived it. And it was as beautiful writing it as it was actually living it at the time because it was such an adventure. It really was a change. Everything I ever knew about myself was thrown upside down.
Well, one of the messages in your story, because we all leave with a positive perspective or outcome, and I think you have both. But one of the lessons that you speak about is to let go and let God. Can you talk about that a little bit?
We limit ourselves by the expectations we throw out there. When we are not attached to the outcome and we just trust God and the universe to take care of us, the outcomes can be much better than we can imagine for ourselves. And that was really my lesson here, because that's what I did. I had a concept of what I wanted in my life in terms of someone who had my back, what real love was, but I didn't know what it looked like. I let God show me, and that was the gift.
It really is such a beautiful message, especially for people, men and women, in the maybe middle part of their life or the later part of their life, who may have been through a relationship or two and are really kind of wondering, where life is taking them.
I'm a much better divorce attorney because of this whole experience, because I was married unhappily as a divorce attorney to two attorneys. So, people would come to me with their problems, and I'd think to myself, oh my God, I can speak. My second husband is may he rest in peace. But he was addictive personality. He was a womanizer. He was a great trial lawyer, but he had all these other issues that went with him. And I think to myself, oh my God, if people only knew. But because I have this wonderful relationship, I give my clients hope. I tell them, you know what? This is your opportunity to come up with something beautiful and wonderful. You want someone who has your back. That's what you're looking for. So now I'm an inspiration for my clients as they go through. And this is really the bigger gift in terms of my work as an attorney.
So what do you hope readers will receive when they read your story?
A message of hope that don't be attached to outcomes and have positive expectations, but don't try and control everything, because you limit yourself. And that's what I'm hoping will be the story, that we don't know everything, and we don't have to control everything to have a good outcome.
Yeah, the big C, right? So chaos, clarity, and control, they kind of are interesting. Go together. So let go, let God, let go, let the universe, let go, let really whatever would you say people resonate with or believe in?
However it is, it's just basically that the universe does a much better job for us than we do for ourselves when we get out of our own way.
Yeah, I like that. Words to live by for sure. So Denise, share your website and the name of your book again, and how people can get in touch with you.
My book is The Power of 10, A Guide to Living the 10 Commandments and the Golden Rule in Modern Times. That's why the 10, the zeros in parentheses. My website is very simple, www.denisealexanderpyle.com. And you can also find me on my law website, so if you want to reach me too. So that's dapylelaw.com.
Thank you. Thank you. Denise Alexander Pyle, it's been a pleasure having you as our guest today.
Thank you so much. And it's always a pleasure to talk with you, Patricia. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So Denise's story is called Third Time Charm in our new book, Chaos to Clarity, Sacred Stories of Transformational Change, which is available through Amazon and booksellers worldwide or direct from Sacred Stories Publishing. So thank you to our audience for listening to today's Sacred Stories podcast. I am your host, Reverend Patricia Caginello, and until next time, as always, I encourage you to write your sacred story well.